One of the most exciting positions to cover on the Kansas City Chiefs this offseason has been that linebacking core, and no other than Nick Bolton too. And we're going to dive a little bit deeper into what kind of strides he can make into year two into becoming an elite linebacker in the NFL. But before we do get into all that, please be sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video, as I'm going to keep you up to date on anything Kansas City Chief related that you do not want to miss out on. And without further ado, let's have some fun. Honestly, it's funny what 1 year in the NFL can do. If we rewind back to last year and you focused on when Nick Bolton was drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs in the second round, there wasn't that many fans in Chiefs Kingdom too pleased about the pick. Even though he was one of the top sought-in linebackers in the draft, a lot of people felt like Nick Bolton didn't fit Spags' schemes because they knew at the end of the day, Spags loves to put his linebackers in coverage, and that was something Nick Bolton didn't really excel with in the college, and he was known as a slower linebacker. And could he keep up with the tight ends or even wide receivers in the NFL today? And then now, let's get back to where we are. No, let's stay rewind and let's focus on his rookie year, which didn't go off to the greatest of starts, and that's because Spags didn't really put him into the scheme, which I mentioned time in and time out too. When it's a rookie, either on the offense or defense side of the ball, Kansas City tends to not just throw him out there, which will be different this year because rookies are going to be the main asset onto why the Kansas City Chiefs are successful. But last year, they waited to basically, I guess, groom and try to mature Bolton behind Hitchens into, hey, we're not going to throw him in right away. There won't be no surprises, and let's just, gently get him into his role. And a lot of Chiefs Kingdom was kind of upset with that too. It was kind of weird, actually. They were upset at the fact he wasn't on the field, but then they thought if he would be on the field, it's like, can he cover? Can he do what we want him to do? But at the end of the day, you have to get him out there and prove everyone wrong. And that's what happened, and that's what he did do. Even though coverage might still be a question mark, I think he proved a lot of people wrong. He looked, I want to say good. I'm going to say good because I think he looked better than okay, and so he looked good in coverage too, and that's something he will grow on as well. We knew the main thing from Nick Bolton coming out of college is he's a thumper. He's a hard hitter. You don't want your running back anywhere near him because he will lay the wood and lay them out. And we saw that translate to the NFL perfectly, laying guys out like any running back that was in his way. And honestly, the key game for me was against Tennessee, against Derrick Henry too, is like him and Juan Thornhill really stood out for me because they wanted all the smoke that game. For someone Derrick Henry's size and for them just to be like, hey, we're going to lay his ass out, that's what they were doing. And that's the kind of tone you love to see. And that's the type of tone the Kansas City Chiefs want to set this year on defense as well because, yes, we mentioned it. It's a young core. It's a new core. We need new defensive leaders. And the two guys I just mentioned, in Juan Thornhill and in Nick Bolton too, are going to be guys that are going to be highly dependent on vocally and also in the skill set wise as players in the leadership department too. Because now you don't have a Tyrann Mathieu. You don't have an Anthony Hitchens, which you could say, yeah, you didn't like his play on the field. He was getting older. He was becoming a liability for the Kansas City Chiefs towards the end. But he was that vocal guy too, and he was someone Nick Bolton even mentioned that Nick Bolton led heavily on. And to this day, Nick Bolton also said, hey, I still text him and ask him for tips and things like that too. So even though Anthony Hitchens' play might not have been as stellar to a lot of Chiefs Kingdom, what he said vocally helped translate to what Nick Bolton is becoming, to what Willie Gay is becoming, and grooming this linebacking core into what we all hope for it to be in the future. And when I mentioned to start this video that this is one of my favorite groups, and I talk about it a lot because I just love the way it looks. And it's funny, I'm not really that big of a defensive guy because I don't even know why really. Like, if I was to focus on one of my favorite positions on the defense, it would be safety. And I would never think twice about looking at linebackers and heavily investing into them whatsoever. But this linebacking core is like so much fun for me to watch because it's just so young, it's so talented, the athleticism flies off the board, and Nick Bolton leads that group. And I wouldn't say he has the best athleticism out of that linebacking core because that's Willie Gay all day, every day. And I think between them two, if you wanted to choose two guys to skyrocket up the boards into the top like 10 linebackers or even linebacking core, they can do it this year too. And then I wanted to solely focus on the fact, like, yes, you read the title where do we believe that Nick Bolton can be an elite linebacker? Can he take that leap into being one of the best, if not best, linebackers in the NFL? And I think the answer is yes. Like, I think he can build off of everything he learned and proved last year and make himself into a better linebacker. And I think this year is going to be huge because it's like he's not a veteran, but he is a vet now with how young this defensive group is, and he's going to be dependent on vocally heavily. So you're going to watch him making a lot of plays, and I'm going to compare him, which I probably shouldn't, but it's because they were in the same draft class, and it's because a lot of people don't really focus on that, is him and Micah Parsons too. So if you were to look at them hand to hand, and if you heard the names right away, you'd be like, I'm taking Micah Parsons all day, every day. And I understand, I give it to you, because there's one asset Micah Parsons is elite at, and that is getting to the quarterback, and that's the number one thing you need in the NFL, is if you have an elite pass rusher, you are a game changer, and you will be in every game. But then I question you on, after pass rushing, what else does Micah Parsons excel more than Nick Bolton? I think Nick Bolton can be more of a complete linebacker than Micah Parsons. And that's why I was pushing the debate on, I'm not saying Micah Parsons is the best linebacker either. There's like a lot of things that go into this too. You can look at a Fred Warner, a Darius Leonard, a Roquan Smith. There's guys, the list goes on and on and on. Devondre Campbell, and this, like, the top 10 is crazy in itself. So I know when people are looking, like, they're looking at Nick Bolton being outside of that top 10 group right now. Actually, if you look at PFF's rankings right now, they got him around the 15, 16. And I think with the kind of strides he can make this year, I think he can be a top 10 linebacker, and I wouldn't be surprised if he can get himself into a top 5 category, because the main thing and the huge difference in it all is when Nick Bolton was on the field, you could tell he was a difference maker, and there was no one getting in his way, and if they were, that was your mistake. And he only played 56% of the snaps, and he still had over 100 tackles and double digits tackles for loss. Like, that is crazy to do in your rookie year. Now he's going to be the main carrier and definitely see more than 56% of the snaps. He's going to see around 90%. So those numbers could easily skyrocket. And with that, you got to think, if he did that his rookie year, just imagine those numbers double. And I know that's not how it works, but let's just say, I don't know. Let's say he gets around 150 tackles, and then his tackles for loss doubles, he adds some sacks, and then some forced fumbles. It's like, you got to look at him in a different type of caliber with one of the elite linebackers in this league. And yeah, a lot of people will be saying that you're just saying that because you're a Chiefs fan. That is correct. It's a Chiefs channel, but at the end of the day too, you got to look at the different assets Nick Bolton brings to the team and what he is going to be dependent on moving forward too. And then he's going to be one of the main leaders, and I think his talent is going to skyrocket too. I know a lot of people, like I mentioned earlier, their main concern was, can he cover? What happens if he ties that down? And I think he actually did pretty well too. Now, at the end of the day, I don't care what linebacker it is. Maybe I'm fine with Willie Gay because he is a freak athlete. But at the end of the day, I don't want any of my linebackers running out there with the tight end. Definitely an elite one. Like, thank God we have Travis Kelce on our team, but do you really want any linebacker in this league to run with the lights of a Darren Waller, a George Kittle, a Travis Kelce, a Mark Andrews? No, that's a matchup they're going to win 9 times out of 10. So am I going to fault a Nick Bolton for being to struggle on someone like one of those guys? Not at all. It's really, I get it, because coverage is something that does need to improve. But at the end of the day, if he's like knocking off every other basically point on the defense, why knock him on the one he needs to prove? And if he does, it's like, watch out for him too. And the main reason I wanted to create this video too was because my guy Peter Schrager, I think he's one of the biggest Chiefs fans, or undercover Chiefs fans. Chiefs Kingdom knows, he talks about the Chiefs heavily too. And he basically listed Nick Bolton number 2 on his top 10 breakout players this year. And I think that's rightfully so, because that's not a name you hear so often throughout the leagues too. People just, when they tend to focus on this Chiefs defense, they're just like, they're going to be a subpar ranked, 20 ranked defense again. And Patrick Mahomes is going to have to carry the team. They are going to have to find a way to get to the Super Bowl off of Mahomes' arm. What if it's different this year? Not saying Mahomes is not going to be the reason they're a Super Bowl team. Of course he's going to be the reason. But what if this defense is elite and it would be the main reason that Nick Bolton would be one of the leaders stepping up and anchoring that defense? Like I mentioned last night too. Just imagine if Mahomes had a 10th ranked defense. Who is stopping this team? I don't believe anyone is. Like, Kansas City will legit have a great chance to be undefeated. Now, I know I'm not going to talk that crazy because undefeated is hard to do, and like New England couldn't even do it either when they had an undefeated regular season and then it ended up dropping in the Super Bowl to the Giants. But literally, like, if Mahomes still has that higher powered offense and you have a 10th ranked defense too, that's a scary team. Now, do I think they can be a 10th ranked defense this year? I sure do. But the thing that I will always have question marks, specifically on Spag's team, and now specifically with all this young core, is I don't know what it is, but we see it every year where it tends to take a minute to translate into September. And that's when Mahomes has to play his best ball. That's why you see Mahomes have these ridiculous numbers in September. Not last year, because last year was, I don't want to say a fluke year, but something happened to where the consistency fell off, but then they got it right again. But if somehow, some way, this defense can go flying from week one, I don't know what to tell the league. Like, I think it would be a huge struggle to stop this team. I really do. Like, if the offense is clicking and the defense is clicking, do you have a formula to beat this team? And then that would put the whole league on notice to be like, we did all this shit this offseason to stop this team. Yes, I'm talking to the Chargers. Yes, I'm talking to the Raiders. Yes, I'm talking to the Broncos. Yes, the Buffalo Bills had a great offseason too, where they just kept adding pieces and they had great draft picks too. Bengals are still legit. This AFC is so loaded off of one team. And just imagine if Kansas City basically just rebolstered their whole defense just off of the draft and you couldn't stop them. That would piss the whole league off. And I agree with Peter Schrager completely. Keep your eyes on Nick Bolton this year, and I'm going to one-up it too. Keep your eyes on Willie Gay, because last year he was coming back from injury, and two, he had, I don't want to say a mindset problem, because that's kind of fucked up to say, because it's really not that. But it's like he was battling stuff off the field that basically didn't let him perform the way he wanted to perform, and he looks like himself. You can see how happy he is. They call him the Juice Man for a reason, because he gets everyone hyped up. Just imagine Willie Gay going off this year. And I could see that too. Like, I really could. I could see Willie Gay, in a sense, being better than Nick Bolton in a different asset and phase of the game. Like, Willie Gay even came out and said, I'm going to lead the league for linebackers and interceptions. And do I think that's crazy? I don't. Like, you see him on the field, and his film just pops out to you when he's on there. And if he puts a full healthy season together, that's why this linebacking core is so ridiculous. Like, you have a crazy thumper, hard hitter, Nick Bolton, and you got this freak athlete in Willie Gay, to where, is it crazy to think they might both be top 10 linebackers? And you don't even get me started on Mr. Death Row himself, Leo Chanel. It's his rookie year, so I'm not anticipating too much, because like I said, I know what Spags does when he puts his defensive starters out there. But I also mentioned, this is a different year. This is where they're going to depend on him more. And if Leo Chanel's out there, whew, if you have a Nick Bolton and Leo Chanel coming in your backfield, I just hope you prayed that Sunday morning. But with that, Chiefs Kingdom, I'm going to close this off. Let me know if I'm too crazy to think Nick Bolton can easily be a top 5 linebacker, maybe even the best. I think he's going to take huge strides this year to be one of the greatest linebackers in the NFL this season. But with that, I'm going to close this out. Please be sure to subscribe to the channel and give me that big thumbs up and like this video. Y'all take it easy. Peace.